Hi, this is Debbie. I'm glad you're back. This is video number 2. So have you thought about the question, who am I really? Well, the persona is really, really interesting. I wish I would have known this a lot earlier in my life, but I do remember one story about the persona that I want to share with you is that I remember when I was in my 20s and I really wanted to find the love of my life. I was, of course, 23 and thought, I was old maid already. And one of my friends, I remember had a summer down the shore at the Jersey Shore. Not like the Jersey Shore TV show, it wasn't that bad. But we did have a lot of fun, we partied a lot. And I remember one of my friends said to me, Debbie, when I get to know you on a personal level, you show me this side of you that really wants a commitment, that really wants a boyfriend. But when you're out there with the guys, all you do is pretend that you don't need a commitment and you're acting like this fun girl. And what you're actually doing is you're turning away the guys that really want a relationship and you're attracting all the jerks. And I thought, wow, that is so interesting. Of course, 20 years later, I was still single, so that didn't really change my life. But what she was really saying is that we present this persona because we think that the real self isn't someone that someone would love. And that's really my intention. I felt like if they really knew I wanted a relationship, or if they really knew that I was emotional and spiritual, that they might not like me, but they may like the fun Debbie. And so that's the mask I created. And of course, we've all had this happen to us. So again, going back to that first point, there's nothing broken about you. This is a natural process. So think about when you were a baby. You were so cute and so adorable, and you were so naked, and you would poop on yourself, and you would throw up, and you would cry when you needed food or cry when you were uncomfortable, and you were just yourself. You were totally you. And then as you got older, people told you what was appropriate and what was not. And so basically your psyche started to split of the desirable qualities that you should be to present to everyone, and the undesirable qualities that you shouldn't show. And then what happens is we kind of suppress or push down the things that we don't think are acceptable. And that's what we call the shadow. So the persona is something that we show to the world, and we think this is how we interact with everyone, that's going to get people to like us, that's going to get even relationships, with what the men like, what the women like with us. And then the parts that we hide, which is the shadow. And this process has been going on through our entire life. And every time we feel we act out of our natural, personality and who we are, and then someone tells us that's wrong, we learn that we should push that aside. And this all happens to every single person on the planet. We all have this. So this is not about dysfunction. This is about understanding how your mind works. And so as you grow older, you create this false self and you forget about this shadow. And what happens is when we go out looking for love, we think that the shadow, or the parts of us that we denied or we hide, are just gone. They're in the closet somewhere. No one needs to know. They've disappeared. And we have this persona that we think is all who we are. But the interesting thing about attraction is that we have this persona of what we want to attract, which is this, I'm an attractive person, and I make good money, and I'm confident, and I'm funny, and all these things that we want someone to know about us. But we end up attracting the things that we dislike about us, and they show up in other people. And that's the shadow. So have you ever noticed that what you really want in life when you go out and start dating is that the person that you find always kind of brings up almost the worst in you, or triggers you in a lot of ways? And that is the shadow. So this is a really great example. Imagine that you have this strong desire to be wanted, to be needed, to be accepted. And so you create this persona to cover up the need that you don't think you are. So instead of attracting that need and acceptance and love, what you're attracting is rejection, abandonment, and pain. And that is what the shadow is really bringing into your love life. So here's what happens. You have the persona and you have the shadow. The persona is there putting on her best face or his best face, trying to attract a mate. And what you really attract is the shadow. So here's your homework. I want you to think about your last relationship. I want you to think about the persona that you created to be around that person, what you wanted that person to believe about you. Like even take a piece of paper out and say, what I wanted Jim to really believe about me, what I wanted Jane to really believe about me, and come up with that persona that you wanted them to understand. And then I want you to get into what really happened when they left or when the relationship ended. What did you believe about yourself because that relationship ended? Did you believe you were not worthy? Did you believe that you weren't good enough? Did you believe that you didn't measure up? Think about what you believed about you and that feeling of that was triggered with that person. And that is really pointing to your shadow. So to sum up, there's nothing broken about you. Again, that this is a natural process everyone goes through. Everyone has a persona. And then there's the shadow part that we end up attracting because we're attracting basically on the unconscious level. Now, I want you to not get the shadow a bad rap because it really actually isn't dark and dreary and negative like a lot of people talk about the shadow. The shadow many, many times contains all of your beautiful gifts that you also deny about yourself. You know, Marianne Williamson says that people, it's not the dark that they have a hard time facing, but it's their light. And so in the shadow is all those wonderful qualities about us that we don't really accept in ourselves. That maybe someone told us years through our life that, you know, who do you think you are? So we play small and we push that down as well. And then this is the tricky part. When you fall in love and you fall into that infatuation love, not real love, but when you meet someone and you're just really thinking they're like going to save your life, what you're really doing is you're projecting all your great, great things about you onto that person that you don't see in yourself. And I know that's kind of weird to think about, right? That you're seeing yourself in them. But it's really this idea, this thing that I don't have it in me, and this person is bringing it into my life. But what you're actually seeing is your own divine in that person. But as you know, if you can't accept it within yourself, it's going to fade away. And that is why when we're infatuated and we get involved and we jump in, and then the relationship sort of ends or it drops out of the blue, they stop calling, is because that projection ended. And then the reality of who you are and how you feel about yourself kind of clouds that whole picture. And of course, you still are in love with this person. You think they're the person you were meant to be with. And you feel like you've lost a part of yourself when they leave. When actually, you lost the projection of your own greatness, your own beautiful, amazing self. So as you can see, this work is really, really powerful because you're not only attracting what you don't want, you're also not seeing really, truly who you are if you're not conscious of it. And so the key is to make this shadow part, these good parts and the parts that trigger you, conscious, and bring them into alignment with your conscious mind so that you can have more control over who you're attracting and finding someone who represents the true you. Someone beneath all that persona, all the shadow, there's another element, there's another deeper part of you, which is your true self. And we're going to get to that in video number 3. So I hope you enjoyed this video this time. And again, I want you to think about your last relationship, who you presented to them, what you wanted them to believe about you, and what actually happened, and how you thought about yourself when that relationship ended. And I want you to also think about that infatuation feeling you had for them. And what if you had that feeling for yourself? So think about that, and I'll see you on video number 3. This is Debbie Berndt. I'll see you soon.